Hello, ho, ho, folks. I'm Santanon, and this is the only news that matters. And that news is JFK! John Fitzgerald Kennedy. If you hear some mic interference, I apologize. It's currently raining, and my studio has horrible soundproofing. But hopefully the rain noise is pretty relaxing, because I find it relaxing. Anyways, back to JFK. On November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas, the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was riding in an open-top motorcade, which turned out to be a horrible idea, because he was then assassinated in Dealey Plaza. The assassination of JFK has led to basically the birth of modern conspiracy theory. The gunman was arrested. His name was Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald was admittedly a weird fucking dude, but we'll get into that more later. Did Lee Harvey Oswald actually kill the president? Many would say no. Others would say, and that's why we're here today. Who killed JFK? Was it Oswald? Was it the Russians? Was it the pro-Castro Cubans? Was it the anti-Castro Cubans? Was it the Mafia? The CIA? Woody Harrelson's dad? A Secret Service member? Ted Cruz's dad? Lyndon Baines Johnson? Was it a right-wing conspiracy? Was it Jackie O, his own wife? Was it the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover? Was it the anti-Catholics? Well, let's go with what most people accept as a fact. And this was confirmed by the Warren Commission, which was a commission put together to investigate the death of a fucking president. Well, I guess former president by the time the commission was put together, because by that point LBJ had taken office. It'd be kind of weird if a dead guy was still president. So there were 3 shots. The first shot missed. The second shot hit JFK and the Texas governor, Connally. They were both riding in the same limo. And then the third shot hit JFK in the head. That was the death blow. At least according to the Warren Commission. It's been pretty much proven to be bullshit by numerous experts. But there's also just about as many experts who come out and say, no, it's not bullshit. And even Oswald himself, when he was arrested, he said he was a patsy. Let's talk about Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald was a weird, pro-communist wife beater. I say that because he beat the shit out of his wife all the time. The best thing that could have ever happened to that lady was when Oswald was killed. What is the evidence concerning Lee Harvey Oswald? The book depository is supposedly where the 3 shots came from. Oswald was seen leaving by a police officer. And this dude named Howard Brennan, he claims that he looked up to the 6th floor of the book depository. He said he saw the rifle, he said he saw the shot. When the police investigated that area, they did find the rifle. The rifle was later linked to Oswald, which he had ordered via mail order a few weeks earlier. Also in 2017, it came out that Oswald had met with the KGB assassination unit, known as Department 13, in the Soviet embassy in September of 1963. That's just 2 months at most before the assassination. And then on October 1st, he called the embassy and was speaking Russian. So this weird-headed, wife-beating communist could speak Russian. How? Easy. He had already moved to Russia at one point. His wife that he beat the shit out of, she was a Russian lady. He had met her there. And he was so pro-communist, in the middle of the Cold War, he moved from the United States to the USSR, the fucking Soviet Union. And of course, because he was an American when he moved there, he fucking hated Russia, but he had become a citizen. Somehow, he was allowed to come back to America with his bride and live. That's weird. But that doesn't necessarily prove guilt. Oswald was later killed in public on live television by Jack Ruby, a man with ties to the Mafia.
There is Lee. He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot. There is Lee. He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot. There's a man with a gun. Absolute panic. Absolute panic here in the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters. Detectives have their guns drawn. There is no question about it. Oswald has been shot at point-blank range, fired into his stomach.
Was Oswald killed by the Mafia? Let's explain why the Oswald thing isn't necessarily viable, though. In 1976, the House Select Committee re-examined the evidence. They collected eyewitness reports. They collected photos. They collected film. And for some reason, there were also audio recordings of the assassination. And they noticed eyewitness reports were conflicting. And based on the acoustic recordings, that's right, I said there were audio recordings, that there were at least 2 gunmen. And one was on the infamous Grassy Knoll. The House Select Committee concluded that JFK was probably killed as the result of a conspiracy. That's a direct quote from the House Select Committee. Why they waited till 1976 to re-examine everything, I'm not sure. Let's talk about the investigation itself at the time in November of 1963. The investigation was pretty fucked up. The limo that JFK was shot in was immediately cleaned by the Secret Service. It was wiped down, the roof was put back on it. Should have had the roof to begin with, and then JFK wouldn't have got shot. This is 1963. So, David Caruso and CSI can't show up to investigate. Because we didn't really have forensics back then. I mean, they kind of knew how to investigate stuff. But come on, it was the 60s. Science was weird back then. Dealey Plaza should have been sealed by the police, as well as the book suppository. That would really hurt. The book depository should have been sealed by the police, because it was a fucking crime scene. But they didn't do that. Again, because it was the 60s. Whether it was incompetence or just the product of the time, or everybody investigating was in shock because, the fucking president just got shot in the head. Who knows why proper investigation procedure was not followed. But the point is, it wasn't. Vital evidence was lost because of this. And for some reason, Governor Connolly's hat and cufflinks are considered vital evidence. I don't know what that would prove. It's whatever. Photos from the autopsy of Kennedy were lost. Also, nobody knows where the fuck his brain is. It's just gone too. So that's weird. Let's look at the other suspects. It's well known that JFK wanted to scale back our involvement in Vietnam. Remember, we're not in a full-blown war in Vietnam at this point. He wanted to de-escalate the situation. And some people would say he had a more lax foreign policy against communists. Some people would even call JFK a pro-communist or a communist puppet. What would be the benefit of Kennedy dying? You would get LBJ. LBJ was way less liberal than JFK. And when LBJ got into office, he stepped up his anti-communist foreign policy tactics and his anti-communist propaganda. And we got into the Vietnam War. At the time, LBJ was under 4 criminal investigations. As soon as he became president, all those investigations were dropped. Now, what about the Mafia? JFK was seen as anti-Mafia because he was cracking down on gambling, drugs, prostitution rings, racketeering. And that kind of pissed the Mafia off, because through organizations connected to the Mafia, including unions, they had been running campaigns supporting JFK because they wanted protection from prosecution. And let's not forget, Jack Ruby was connected to the Mafia because he had worked for Al Capone. That's a pretty notorious Mafia guy. And Jack Ruby also ran in the world of organized crime. He himself may not have been exactly a Mafia member, or he was. It just depends on who you talk to. But basically, there's a theory that the mob hired Lee Harvey Oswald to take out the president, so that way the communists would get the blame and it would take the heat off the Mafia. And then Jack Ruby was then given the job to go shoot Oswald to cover up the fact that the Mafia did it. And also, when LBJ got into office, prosecutions against the Mafia went back down to their normal level. So the anti-Mafia sentiment seemed to disappear. So they benefited. Let's talk about the CIA. The CIA had this plan called Operation Northwoods. And basically, they were gonna get a bunch of people to go through Miami and just start spraying United States civilians with bullets. The plan was to blame that on Fidel Castro's regime in Cuba. When JFK was presented with this plan, like a logical person, he said, fuck no. Also, I'm gonna fucking get rid of this CIA shit. This is stupid. You guys are shady and weird. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you want to kill American citizens? On top of that, the CIA and the Mafia wanted Castro dead. The CIA wanted Castro dead because they were scared of the Red Threat. For those of you that don't know, Cuba is only 90 miles off the coast of Florida. And we just have this communist nation down there. Well, the CIA doesn't like it. And the Mafia wanted Castro out because before Castro got into power, they were cleaning up in Havana with casinos and organized crime shit. You know what the Mafia does. We've all seen Scarface and The Godfather. And wait, was Scarface in the Mafia, or was he just Al Pacino playing a Cuban guy? I don't remember. We've all seen the Mafia movies, Goodfellas, Casino. We know what they do. Basically, you know, it would benefit the Mafia as well. So the CIA and the Mafia were working together to get rid of Castro, which is crazy, but you know, you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back type of deal. Basically, after the CIA pitched Operation Northwoods, and it didn't go like the CIA hoped it would go, there was this plan called the Bay of Pigs invasion, which was an invasion plan to oust Castro. It was a coup attempt. Well, that went disastrously bad. The CIA refused to back the plan, and that pissed JFK off. He wanted to disassemble the CIA. So what happened after the Bay of Pigs went disastrously? Kennedy fired the CIA director Allen Dulles, or Dulles, or it doesn't matter how you say his last name. It's probably Dulles, but who cares? He's a fucking spook anyways. Fuck him.
I'm telling you right now, it wasn't the CIA. It wasn't the Mafia.
Was it the FBI or the FBI director J. Edgar Hoover? Notably, JFK and J. Edgar Hoover hated each other. Also notably, and this has nothing to do with the assassination, J. Edgar Hoover was a closeted homosexual who went out of his way to persecute homosexual people, and that's pretty fucked up, and it's just fucked up. Fuck J. Edgar Hoover. But Hoover and LBJ fucking loved one another. And maybe that's because, like I said, LBJ was way more anti-communist than JFK. And maybe the reason Hoover loved LBJ was because LBJ had a giant cock. I mean, that's true. You can look that up. It's noted. LBJ had a fucking hog down there. And maybe Hoover wanted him some of it. I'm not going to blame the guy for that. I would if he was behind the assassination. That's pretty fucked up. You're going to kill a president just to get some LBJ dick? That's fucked. But that would be a shitty motive, and that's really not what it was. That's clearly a joke, people. J. Edgar Hoover, he was old as fuck. I mean, dude, there's dinosaurs younger than that motherfucker. And JFK was gonna force him to retire. But LBJ was not gonna do that. LBJ, in fact, committed, once he became president, to have Hoover as the head of the FBI for life. LBJ was J. Edgar Hoover for life. So maybe they did fuck. Let's talk about the pro-Castro Cubans. Bay of Pigs would have been enough for them to get pissed and be like, yo, we gotta cap JFK. He's trying to take out our boy. Well, there were contingents of pro-communist and pro-Castro Cubans in America at that time. And if you're pro-Castro and then the Bay of Pigs happen, you're like, yo, that motherfucker in the Oval Office is trying to take out our boy. Fam, we gotta roll up on him. So there's a motive. It's a weak motive, but there's a motive. Or was it Castro himself, you know? I mean, notably, like I told you earlier, the CIA and the Mafia were working together to take Castro out. Castro had thousands of attempts on his life because of the U.S. And maybe he just had enough of it. He was like, yo, you're trying to kill me? Let me cap your guy. So he got JFK. What about the anti-Castro Cubans? That also ties into the Bay of Pigs. So the Bay of Pigs failed. You're in this country. You're a Cuban who came here because fuck Castro, fuck communism, and you got all your hopes and dreams in this JFK guy. He's a Catholic. And you're Catholic, right? Maybe? Is that racist to say? Probably. I probably shouldn't say that. Just because you're Cuban doesn't mean you're Catholic. Sorry. Don't cancel me. Anyways, so you're all like, fuck Castro, I'm American now, USA #1, USA, USA, fuck yeah, USA. And then your boy, JFK, you blame him for fucking up the Bay of Pigs. You're like, bro, we could have gone back home, but you done fucked up everything. And so you take out JFK, you and your anti-Castro buddies. Was it some type of right-wing conspiracy? Well, let's look at it. If you're super right-wing, this liberal, JFK, gets into office and he starts shaking up the status quo within the government and outside of the government. He's young, he's dumb, he's inexperienced, he's reckless. He kind of wanted to end the Cold War. He wanted to make the world a better place and less hostile. And if you're super right-wing, that pisses you off because you're nothing but hostile. So you're like, hey, let's take out JFK because fuck him, and somehow LBJ's better, I guess. Yeah, that theory's stupid. Was it his own wife, Jackie O? Why would Jackie O want to kill him? Notably, JFK couldn't keep his goddamn dick in his pants. And that's pretty embarrassing because everybody knew he was banging anything that walked. And you're Jackie O and you're like, fuck this, I'm gonna kill the motherfucker. So she hires some people and has him killed. Weirdly, after his death, she did marry this guy named Aristotle Onassis. And the thing about Aristotle Onassis is he was part of the Illuminati. Was it the Russians? Was JFK a Russian puppet? When he got into office, did he turn his back on the USSR? Or did the USSR turn their back on him and have him killed? And so they sent Lee Harvey Oswald out to do their dirty work? Or Lee Harvey Oswald and someone else? No, that's stupid. Well, maybe JFK is still alive and he had a body double killed. And then that's why the autopsy pictures are gone, because we all saw what happened with Tupac's autopsy pictures. Everybody was like, that's clearly not fucking Tupac. So Tupac's on a desert island chilling with Michael Jackson and Prince and Elvis, which is true, but the JFK doing the body double thing, that's stupid. Well, no, it's clear who it is. It's clear who was behind this. If it wasn't a lone gunman, if it wasn't the USSR, if it wasn't the pro-Castro Cubans, if it wasn't the anti-Castro Cubans, If it wasn't the mob, if it wasn't the CIA, if it wasn't J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, if it wasn't LBJ, if it wasn't the super right wing, if it wasn't Jackie O, if it wasn't Jackie O's future husband, if it wasn't them, then who? Oh, I know, it's gotta be Ted Cruz's dad. Wrong, that's fake news. Look it up, Google it. So was it Woody Harrelson's dad? No, that's fucking stupid. Really? Woody Harrelson's dad, there were these people that got arrested that day on the train tracks called the Three Tramps. One of them kind of looked like Woody Harrelson's dad, and Woody Harrelson's dad went to his grave saying that he killed JFK. But Woody Harrelson's dad was a noted con man and a fucking murderer who killed a federal judge. You can't trust a goddamn word that comes out of his mouth. It's stupid. So who was it, Santanon? You said you were going to tell us, and that's right, I'm going to tell you. If you remember from my UFO disclosure video, I revealed that I have a secret source. Someone within the government. This person within the government, you might say he's military intelligence. Or she. He or she. It's definitely a he, but he or she, 21st century, equal rights. Definitely a he, though. He's in military intelligence. You might call him let's just refer to him like I did in the first video as 17. And if you haven't seen that video, by the way, go back and watch it. There's a lot of good information in there, a lot of good data. That person, 17, as I like to call him, is extremely close to JFK. You might even say directly related. And maybe he's out, even though he's military intelligence, flying around from port to port. Maybe he didn't die in that plane crash like everybody thought he did. Maybe. I'm not saying for sure that's who my source is. But he told me what happened. See, there's this theory that it was the Secret Service, that when the shots first popped off, that either a Secret Service member riding in the motorcade fired because the car suddenly stopped or lurched in speed, and these guys were carrying high-powered rifles that were off safety because they're protecting the president. Mistakes could be made, and it was covered up by Robert Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson. Now, there's a lot of credence to that, but my source told me it's not quite like that. You see, JFK had problems. He was in immense pain all the time, had back issues, was actually excused from serving in World War II, and was such a goddamn patriot, he served anyways in the Navy, but still he served. And his ship got sunk. And even with a bad back, JFK, the patriot that he is, saved a shit ton of men from drowning because he was fucking awesome. And he deserved to be president. And he was gonna get rid of the CIA. And he fucking hated J. Edgar Hoover. And yeah, he wanted to make better worldwide relations, even if they were communists. He just wanted everybody to be safe and not be in fear of nuclear war and nuclear disaster. And not only did he have the problem of excruciating back pain, but that man had another problem. He couldn't keep his dick in his pants, because otherwise he would get excruciating headaches if he didn't fuck at least 3 times a day. It was a horrible medical condition that they still don't have a cure for. And the other thing is, he didn't even get pleasure from sex. He just did it so he wouldn't get migraines. He didn't want to be slinging all that dick. He had to, for medical reasons. He had no other option. So he spent his whole life tortured and in pain. And so he did the only noble thing. He didn't want to hurt his wife anymore. He knew that the super right wing and the pro-Castro Cubans and the anti-Castro Cubans and the super left-wing communists, he knew they were all working together with the mob and the CIA to undermine his every fucking move. He knew the guy who was his vice president hated his fucking guts, and he hated that guy's guts too. He organized his own death. He orchestrated his own suicide. See, he had top secret clearance, much like my source. And he found the files on Oswald, because Oswald was already being observed. And he thought, This guy could be trouble for us, but I'm gonna make him work for us. So through a third party, who I have been sworn not to name, JFK hired Lee Harvey Oswald to climb up to the 6th floor of that book depository that sacred November day in 1963. Take that rifle that he had ordered from the mail, put a bullet in JFK's head. But what Oswald didn't know was JFK also had pulled aside an inexperienced Secret Service agent that day, and he explained his troubles and his pain. And he made the Secret Service agent understand that if Oswald didn't get the job done, the Secret Service agent had to do it. And so, that's how it happened, folks. Lee Harvey Oswald, in conjunction with a Secret Service agent, killed JFK via JFK's own request. And that's the truth. And you can trust me, because I am Santanon. And this is the only news that matters. Join me in the data battle that is being waged against us daily.
Like this video, subscribe to my channel, hell, follow me on Twitter or something, doesn't really matter.
The point is, you need to be educated. You need to see the truth. I want to believe. Do you? Thank you. And good night, or good morning, or good afternoon, whenever the fuck you're watching this, good whatever. Thanks for tuning in. God bless, and hell, Santa.
The Only News That Matters is a production of the Children's Television Workshop, brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
Here comes